Hey there, Scorpio. This is Seven Scorpion Tarot, and I want to welcome you to tonight's reading. So tonight, I just did a collective reading, and for that, we were talking about the moon in Scorpio. So same is going to be applying to you, of course. And there are no additional planets outside of the moon in your sign. And so one of the things we were talking about in that previous reading was the sun sign changing. So talking about transitions because the sun just moved from Aquarius into Pisces. And not gonna lie, at the end of that reading, I kind of started to get the creeps a little bit about how synchronous it was with the oracle card that we drew and the dice rolls that we got. A lot of really synchronous energy. So I'm wondering if we might get any repeats this time. We'll see. So we'll do a self, shadow, and ego. See where that gets us. We were talking a lot about the transition, that liminal space between the full moon and new moon. The new moon coming up in Pisces. And I also couldn't shuffle in that reading either. uh, so let's think about what either is transitioning for us or maybe what we'd like to see transition for us as part of this lunar cycle. So start shuffling for the self. And it's interesting, like, typically when things are strikingly synchronous, I don't usually get the creeps. Like, I get excited, but like, it kind of, nope, kind of gave me the creeps. I wonder, what the difference is. Maybe it's the spooky artwork. This is the Murder of Crows tarot, and I've got the Call of the Morrigan oracle here. Yeah, I'm not sure what's different. What's different about the vibe? Why I would suddenly get the creeps instead of getting excited? Not sure. I might need to just digest that further in my own time. But I did mention too, like Bizarro World, like in Superman. So maybe that was just coming through the reading, just representative of that. But I'd like to see what this reading has to offer. Not focus too much on that. On what has already passed. So let's get a card for the self. Oop. I'm reading those reversed since they did a topsy-turvy. Topsy-turvy. Ooh, Judgment and the Hermit. So Judgment would have been reversed. Interesting. So, well, now I feel like I need to look at it both ways. Oh, this isn't the Hermit. This is the Two of Wands. This is very hermity vibes. Uh, huh. So my judgment was wrong when it was reversed. But then in the upright, judgment is reversed. WTF? What's happening? Okay. So, Two of Wands. Mm, 'cause I want to say Three of Wands is journeying. See what the book says. I'm referring to this book a lot since I recently got this deck, and I really, really like the card descriptions. So, Two of Wands, and it only has upright meanings in the book. So it says, "Into this world you are thrown. The maps here are not yet written, and it will take your hands to tame the lands before you." That was weird phrasing. "And it will take your hands to tame the lands before you." Here we go. "To carve a path so that others may follow in your footsteps. Or you can you can choose to risk nothing, feel no pain, and forever regret not answering adventure's call. Doubt is the first obstacle. You must defeat your doubts before you can take your very first step." Keywords: the desire for adventure, fear of failure, a fork in the road, the will to proceed. Okay, so, I mean, Two of Wands, that's giving Hecate. She came up in that previous reading too. Uh, and we had talked about the liminal space between the full moon and the new moon, and there's a full moon here on this card. And this is like a refusal of the call. And I mean, we've got Judgment in the background here, so that's very, very literal. That's very like in your face. Uh, huh. Okay, so here's what this feels like. This feels like a choice point is coming up. That, weirdly enough, if you accept the call, it's like that's not the outcome you want. But if you refuse the call, is this like a test? Like, I mean, this sounds dramatic, but I almost want to say like a divine test. Not even like divine intervention, but like a divine test. Like, oh shoot. Is it the fifth stage in the hero's journey? Uh, was it ordinary world, call to adventure, refusal of the call, mentor, tests and allies? I think I think it's fifth. Um, it's somewhere around there. And hmm, Hecate, like her symbol, one of them is the keys and the two torches. Is Hecate calling to you? Or Hecate, however you want to pronounce that. Uh, to my knowledge, crows are not specifically associated with her. They'd be owls. But, maybe owls aren't readily available in your area. Maybe crows will be significant for you in some way. Maybe it's time to take a walk in a cemetery, have a think. That's something I used to do, um, especially during lockdowns and stuff when there wasn't a whole lot to do. I would go. There's a cemetery not too far from me, and I just go walk on the paths and stuff. Uh, and actually, there's a hawk that lived in a tree over there. It wasn't an owl or crows. But there's going to be some sort of judgment in your favor for a refusal of something. And, use your discernment. Don't take advice from some random tarot reader in a vacuum, like on YouTube, TikTok, or wherever you see this. Uh, I don't want you. I also do not take responsibility for you and your choices. Just also maybe watch that collective reading because we talked about um, where'd my thought train go? That was going to be important. Anyway, uh, huh. The energy feels a little flighty, like it doesn't want to come through, or like I don't know. Start shuffling for the shadow. This feels really important though. Like if something shiny comes your way, review the information. Oh, it was the OM reading for Moon that just like examining information that's given to you. So like I'm not telling you to just like right out the gate like, oh, Seven Scorpion Tarot said something, re- refuse the call and judgment will be in my favor. Like no, pump the brakes. Like just examine anything shiny that comes your way. Uh, it's sort of like I think it was an Aquarius reading I did about like balance restores the anomaly of like when your limbic system throws up a flag of like, hey, what was that? What was that facial expression about? What was that tone of voice about? All it is saying this requires additional examination. It's not saying make a conclusion right this second, but just take a step back and go into observer mode of, okay, what the heck is happening here? And I mean, if anybody's trying to pressure you into anything, whether it's taking a job opportunity or buying a used car or something like that, or even like going on a date or something, is that something you want to be involved in? You want to be involved in something that like right out the gate they're pressuring you? And if what they were offering was so good, why do they need to pressure you? Like the product should sell itself. And I mean, that's a very broad and general statement, but I think you get where I'm going with that analogy of like if this Honda Civic was the greatest Honda Civic there ever was, why can't I look up the VIN number later? Like why is the price going to change by tomorrow? Hmm. Like there's and that those are reasonable questions. Anybody trying to be pushy with you, like there's going to be typically some sort of like bluff, uh like, well, don't you trust me? Me. Like that kind of like emotional blackmail. Like, no, dude, I just met you like an hour ago. I don't trust you. I don't even trust myself. Like, trust no one, including the person in the mirror. The only person I trust is my cat. I would let her represent me in court. I know she has my best interests in mind. But that's just something to think about. Uh, 'Cause yeah, like anybody's being pushy about anything, like yeah. Three of Swords in reverse in the shadow. So you've worked through some sort of significant heartbreak in the shadow. That's a big deal. And is that, oh, I wonder. Okay, so let's go with the job analogy here. So let's say someone, you get this interview and whatnot, and they want to lowball you, and they've got some sort of like, but we've got like pool tables and free coffee and like whatever. Would the past version of you have gone for whatever gimmick that they're, slapping on the sticker on the windshield to make it look like a better deal than it is because of a past like lack mindset? And that lack mindset doesn't need to exclusively apply to uh, finances. That can also apply to attachment issues as well. I know that was a big problem for me. It made me super susceptible to things like love bombing and gaslighting and things like that because my needs were not met. My needs or wants were not met as a child. And, well, like, it gets complicated. But the really important stuff, the like being nurtured and whatnot, like, sure, I had stuff, but I wasn't being emotionally cared for. No, no. Uh, and oh, here's a good one. So, a parent, and I'll start shuffling for the ego. One of my parents, the excuse, the weaponized incompetence that they could not cook was because they were not allowed in the kitchen based on cultural norms growing up. And believe it or not, when they grew up and when I grew up, for some time happened. There was a large time span in between those two things. And the consequence of them not taking it upon themselves to learn how to cook, because my other parent could not cook either, uh, was me eating out of a lot of boxes and cans and McDonald's and all sorts of like ultra processed stuff when I was growing. And I have like one of the probably worst relationships with food. Like, I've run the gamut from my worst, least healthy relationship with food was probably at my thinnest. Uh, Also, when I dabbled in MMA and I was counting calories like to the stick of gum, uh, that was not a super awesome environment for somebody who didn't have a good relationship with food. And now, my healthiest relationship with food is at my least fit. So, like, it's that pendulum has swung all over the place. Uh, but back to that parent and that heart wound. So, they never took it upon themselves to learn how to cook. Like, not even chicken, broccoli, and rice, like a square meal for their only child. And yet, when they had a new romantic partner in their life for less than 6 months, potentially less than 3 months, they were learning Mandarin for them. Mandarin, of all languages. uh, but couldn't take it upon themselves to hit up a bookstore and get like Cooking for Dummies 101 or whatever and chicken, broccoli, and rice for their only kid. And like people say, you know, you're responsible for your outcomes and whatnot. It really does grind my gears when people say stuff like that. And it's taken me a long time to take a moment with myself and like, hey, they're probably not referring to specific childhood trauma stuff when they refer to that. At least I hope not. Uh, because when you're a kid and it's inescapable, what can you do? You know? And of course, now, like, I can't say that they are responsible for my present day choices. They influenced significantly my poor relationship with food. And now it's up to me to take accountability for where I am, not where I should be, not where I deserve to be, not the type of childhood I deserve to have. It's where I'm at. Uh, and make adjustments from there. And for me, what that looks like is the Mediterranean diet. And with a bit of a keto lean because I have a seizure disorder and doing higher fat, lower carb, and higher protein as well, not just the higher fat. Uh, but my brain is happier, just like my brain is happier for some whatever reason on days that I eat vegetarian. And so I'm just like slowly making changes to my diet that like I try and eat vegetarian. And then if I'm getting like tired, a little like lethargic, and I'm getting plenty of sleep, um, eat some meat, you know? And I could even like incorporate it regularly. But I kind of want to do the like when you're looking for a food allergy thing and you like eliminate all this stuff. I want to eliminate meat and see how long it takes me to get like sleepy. I need those B vitamins. I know I do. Uh, and all the other essentials that are in meat. I just don't need it every single day. I digress. But that's my one of my examples for that heart wound in reverse in the shadow and working through that of like, yes, I deserve better from my parent, that it's completely absurd and absolutely textbook weaponized incompetence that they would make excuses of, oh, sorry, wasn't allowed in the kitchen, but let me go learn Mandarin for a new romantic partner. Um, and like, I can't, and I'm not going to armchair anybody. Uh, but they had a really not solid sense of identity. Like their identity would change per partner, like their preferences, like what they were into. I just noticed really drastic, like the type of stuff that they would be buying, like after that particular romantic partner. All of a sudden, we had, ooh, is that the tower? That looks like the tower. But after that particular romantic partner, there was like all sorts of new Asian stuff in our home. Uh, and don't get me wrong, I love Asian art. And like I was talking about MMA and whatnot. I tried to learn Japanese. I love anime and all that. It's just like this is commentary on that parent. Um, but then like with another Caucasian romantic partner, all of a sudden it was like this like tough biker personality, whatnot. And with another, it'd be like a family guy. It just like, I don't know, weirdness. But the tower and the ego, oof. So that I think is, ooh, that kid's rhyme just came to mind from the Black Plague. Uh, Gosh dang it. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Pocket full of posies. What is that called? Ring around the rosy. Yeah, okay. Um, Fitting too that this would come out with this deck. But a shattering of illusions in the ego that like, because this is a parent that I used to praise of, how much they cared about me and whatnot. And one of the things that I would literally praise them for was like how I didn't need anybody, how independent I was. You're supposed to need people. You're a people. People are social creatures. Uh, Me not needing anyone, that's called hyper independence. That's bad or unhealthy. I don't want to use the moral language associated to that. And again, this is the Call of the Mortigan. That card stock is just so pretty. Uh, but yeah, I think that's really what's coming through is the breakdown of illusion of, and with the sun moving from Aquarius into Pisces into Delulu land, I think that's appropriate. And it's very, very Hades for sure. Let's see if we can get some underlying energies or energy. Maybe we're getting more than one card. I don't know. Just some stuff to chew on. Uh, like what heart wound have you gotten through in the shadow that was like really deep or really potentially like just being in deep denial about? Uh, it's really easy to fall into that, particularly when they're your caretakers. But that could manifest in a multitude of ways. Forgiveness. Oh, and that immediately I'm going right to forgive yourself. Because when you realize that you've been gaslit that you've praised poor behavior. Oh boy, that hurts. And it makes you doubt yourself. It really does. Uh, Interesting. Hmm. Um, my train of thought there. But yeah, it you very well may go through a phase of beating yourself up if this is something that you've experienced of you trusted somebody, you put your faith in them, and they stomped on it, you know? And when, for the other people out there that have childhood trauma, you don't get to pick your parents. Uh, it was on them to be trustworthy for you, to be reliable for you. It wasn't up to you to be a better kid, to do better in school, to be this, that, or the other thing. Jupiter. Looks like Jupiter. Is this upside? Nope, it's this way. So, your Jupiter placement, um, something expansive in your life. And my Jupiter is actually in the fourth house in Taurus with these poles here. Very synchronous for me. But I don't feel creeped out like I did at the end of the last reading. So, ooh, and it flipped. Man, never mind. We're back on Mars, which is what it landed on in the last reading. I stand corrected. Excuse me. Um, so we've got Leo. Hey, Kitson. Good morning. I'm almost done here. And one more. One more. I guess that's what I get for talking smack, huh? And first house. So Aries. Oh, Mars. Huh. Well, and Mars, Scorpio. Scorpio's reading, very synchronous as well. So I would check out these placements in your chart, see if there's any significance as to, lending any clarity as to how this situation is unfolding for you in your life. And I don't typically say this, but this feels upcoming. This feels like an upcoming thing. Uh, Take it how it resonates. That could very well be different for you, but overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.